Hello everyone, this is Marco with Three Birds Media. This is my first time doing this. I just wanted to get this channel started to, kick myself into gear and start uploading some of my art to the channel and maybe teach some people how to go from a drawing to digital media to, either a website, motion graphics, or just a digital painting. So that's what this channel is going to be focused on, and that's what we're going to try to do. Any feedback would be greatly appreciated. This is my first video, so I would definitely be trying to upgrade my microphone, my backdrop, even though the creepy bear in the back might have to stay. Yeah, feel free to ask me any questions in the comments. I'll do my best to answer or reply and get this going. Again, this is my first time creating content this type, but this is not my first time doing digital art. I've been doing graphic design and multimedia for 11 years. I'm also a developer for websites, so this is kind of how I keep myself from going too much down the rabbit hole of coding and logic, and keep my artistic side up and going for other things. But yeah, so I wanted to start off with one drawing that I've had in my head for the longest time. This is my personal art. This is not, I didn't copy paste anything from here, from any other website. This is a drawing that I had. It just kind of floated in my head for a long time. For the last few months, I've been having a bit of a rough time dealing with some emotions and feelings that I've never had before, and so that's what this drawing reflects. I wanted to just get it on paper to express myself, but if anybody else can relate to it or anybody else can see value on this, then it will serve its purpose more than just being in my head than to being out in the digital world. So I'll try to keep this video short, so I might not do the whole thing today. I'll do my best to at least do the outline and show you guys a little bit of tips and tricks here on Illustrator and how to grab your drawings and turn them into something more digital. Correcting some of the asymmetries. This is just a sketch, obviously, and we'll be turning it into a pretty concrete idea. So obviously the first thing to do is I took a picture of it, and you can scan it and bring it into Illustrator. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna bring in the drawing into Illustrator by either copy pasting, or you can go and do File, Place, and then that would open up the window and give you the options to bring the file in. Another thing that I like to do, and I was taught in school on how to do this, is always name your layer. So this is going to be our sketch layer. You can just call it sketch. What we're going to do is we're going to actually lock it, and you can do that by pressing this little locked right here button. Here you can also toggle the visibility of your layers. I'm going to turn my music down here a little bit. Give me 1 second. So a little bit. Now we're going to go ahead and create a new layer, and then one of the things with Illustrator too is that layers have their own colors, and you'll see that when I start outlining the drawing. We're going to call this outline, and this is going to be just like the first silver sketch. So I'm going to start with the biggest shape, the most prominent part of the piece, which kind of determines the tone and feel of everything else. With Illustrator, you're going to be using a lot of shortcuts, but when you're doing digital tracing, the most important shortcut is pressing AP. And what does AP mean? A will give you the arrow, and P will give you the pencil. And why do I press AP? Is because in Illustrator, at least on Windows, and on Windows, when you press Alt, that toggles between the two tools, the one that you're using and the one that you were using just before. So that's a really nifty shortcut to do digital tracings, because you're going to be going from the pen, and then once you do a line, the arrow tool actually allows you to manipulate your handles. It's a little nifty trick that I have to give kudos to my teachers and at the Art Institute for teaching us. So yeah, I usually press AP, and what that allows me to do is to just go back and forth in between the pen and the arrow tool. Another very cool another very shortcut that you're going to be using a lot is the space bar, which allows you to move the canvas around. Hold the space bar and then move around. And then the Z obviously gives you zoom, and if you only press it is the zoom in button. But then if you press Alt, then it gives you the opposite tool, which is the zoom out. I'm gonna go ahead and press A again, and you're gonna get faster at this the more you use it. But yeah, so AP, Z, and so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna click and drag from the direction that I want to do. Once I press the Alt button on Windows, that breaks your anchor, and that allows me to create another line. And as you grab here the handles, then you can create the curves that you want. I'm not too worried about perfection right now. I'm just worried about kind of creating my outlines, and then we'll go ahead, and after that I'll correct what I've done. So when creating digital art is one of the things that I like to keep in mind is to always do the smallest amount of anchors as possible. And why is that? Is because Illustrator does a really good job at keeping things smooth. The least amount of anchors that you have. So if I start adding more and more anchors to this drawing, then what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing a lot more kind of the circular shapes, the round shapes are going to be a little bit more abrupt, which in some cases is good. In some cases you might want to keep it, keep it a little bit more smooth. So obviously Control Z will give you your undo button. I wish there was one of those in real life, but unfortunately we don't. So here we have my little outline that is going to create the base of our mask. Obviously once I do, I can go in here and create a little bit, tweak it a little bit, and you're going to tweak the curvature of the anchors by moving these handles here. I like to use red as kind of my tracing. That comes from my background on arts, when you use a blue or a red sketching pencil to actually get your sketches done. So that's kind of like the very basic shape of my mask. I'm gonna go ahead, and I'm only probably gonna have time to do the mask today. Here I could do 2 points and very exaggerate the anchor, but I'm gonna try to keep it smooth with 3 points here. And then again, break the anchor, and then we're gonna close my shape. And then again, you press the Alt button to go back to your arrow key, and that's gonna allow you to do that. Now, one of the things that is really cool with digital painting that you don't get in real life is you can actually use symmetry. It just depends on what you want to achieve. If you want to achieve a more rough look, then I would go ahead and trace this eye too. But right now, for sake of time and sake of actually, I want to play with more of the symmetry of this mask, I'm gonna, Control copy, Control F. And what Control F does, instead of Control V, which would be paste, Control F, paste in place. And then I'm gonna go here on transform, and I'm gonna do reflect, vertical. And now we have the exact same shape, but a little bit, obviously reflected. Now I do want to play with perspective a little bit. I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger, and I'm holding Shift to make that shape just a little bit bigger. Now I'm going to finish off with a smile because I want to get to punching a hole through the shape, which is the last thing that I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna finish this video in there, and I will pick up the rest tomorrow with some more tracing on the other shapes in the video. Now there is a really cool thing that we can do here. This, as you can see, some of this breakpoints make the the breakpoint very sharp, and that's not very natural. So if we go in here and we actually look at what the pencil did, is when I was going through the pencil, I did this. I didn't do this and this. So I'll teach you guys how to emulate that here in a second. So one of the things that you would do is you're going to go here on the stroke, and instead of having a solid break, you're going to have round breaks. And then now that gives you a little bit of a softer edge, and I'm going to do that to all of them. Again, that's just a matter of look and feel. And once I start playing with the paths, you're going to see a little bit more of why that comes into play. So now we have the shape. But obviously, if I go in here and I change the shapes to be filled, nothing really happens. What we're seeing here is the outlines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch a hole through this big old shape. So first, I'm going to select all these 3 shapes. And the shortcut is Control 8. And that's what makes a clipping path. And a clipping path is just a grouping of shapes. You can also right click and say make compound path. Clipping mask is something different. Compound path is a compound of paths, a grouping of paths. I don't want to make a group. I want to make a compound, which that means is they're not individual objects. This becomes one object. It's like a fusion for all my Dragon Ball Z fans. So I'm going to make a compound path. After this, I will be using the shortcuts, which is Control 8. Then you're going to shift and select. So now if I actually grab this, you see that now this is one thing, right? It's just one single guy. So I'm going to Control Shift and select here. And then what you're going to do is, here you have your Pathfinder. And this is, when you're doing digital art on Illustrator, these are going to be most basic things and the most repetitive things that you're always going to be using. So here you can fuse. And you can punch through, you can combine paths like this, or you can divide, and you'll learn how to use this the more you use the program. The biggest difference is on the ones on top deal with the whole path. The ones at the bottom, actually, if you were to fuse 2 things, they will kind of combine more shapes. So let's say we have this circle, and then we have this circle. And I'm going to show you real quick. So if we use this one, it combines them. It's just one circle, right? So if I do this, see, it's one circle. If I do this, then it's going to cut it out. If I do this, it cuts out the remainder. And if I do this, it cuts it out in the middle. Now, they all became one shape. The one at the bottom, this one right here, see how if I ungroup them, then actually it has become different shapes. So this, what I like to do is kind of like the cookie cutter Pathfinder, which just cuts shapes out depending on what you decide to use. So like if I do this one, if I do this one right here, then ungroup it, you're gonna see that it has cut it out. So okay, so that's what that is. But what we've been wanting to do here is I'm going to punch a hole through it. And there you go, magic. Now we have our mask, and I can, kind of start seeing how this is going to look at the end. I'll be playing more with it later. I'll probably add a little bit more stroking and more animation to make it look more like an actual drawing than just a simple basic shape. But that's it for today. I wanted to show, just jump in on basics, do my first video, get warmed up to this, get some feedback from anybody that sees this, be it 1 person or 10 million. But hopefully it helps somebody out get started on Illustrator. And as I go through the drawing, I will also be talking a little bit more about what this drawing means what this drawing means for me, why I did it. And obviously, I think it's pretty simplistic. The 2 masks being the mask that we wear outside and the person who really are inside, and some of the other people around it. I might add some more once I finish the drawing, or once I'm going more into digital. But that's the gist of it. And I'll be sharing a little bit more of my thoughts on how this came to be and why I'm doing what I'm doing. But thank you so much. I hope you guys appreciate this. I'll be probably uploading another video tomorrow to do the mask behind, which has a little bit of the cracks, and start doing a little bit of the outlining, which is not as simple as just a stroke. The difference between outline and stroke are going to be very essential to give this a little bit more of a cartoony feel, a little bit more artistic feel than just a digital painting. Yeah, thank you so much. See you guys soon.